So hello everybody. It's great to have you with us tonight, and my name's Janene Babauskis, and it's truly a great honour to be sharing with you this evening a breakthrough basically, and this is a breakthrough in health and well-being that has not only made a massive difference in my own life, but in the lives of many that I've had the honour and privilege of working with. So I'm just going to move over to my PowerPoint now, and we'll start to go through the presentation. So I really want to thank you, I thank you for joining us tonight, and you're probably here because somebody close to you or somebody you know has invited you. And it could be that they've been making a lot of fuss about these redox signaling molecules, and you may be in a space where you have no clue of what you've come to. So, you know, if that's you, welcome, you're in the right place. And it could be, you could be somebody who's already using the molecules. And sometimes when we get started on the molecules, we're really not sure about the depth of it, but we understand that it's going to help us. So it's a great way to increase your education and get to know more about this fabulous technology that you could be using. So whatever the reason you're here tonight, you may think your friends joined a cult, so you're curious and want to check us out, and I can understand that, because when people have changes in their health and well-being and it alters the quality of their life, they get pretty excited about it. So, you know, you may have had some exposure to that. So what we're going to be covering tonight is, what is this health breakthrough? What are the products that actually use this technology? We want to have a look at some results. I'm going to check out ASEA, a company with a mission, and how you can benefit from using this health breakthrough. And at the end, we'll actually have an opportunity for you to write some questions in the chat box. So as we proceed along, if questions come up from you, write them in the chat box, and we'll certainly have a look at those at the end. I'm just checking whether we've got an issue, whether I've got an issue to deal with, because somebody's put something in the chat box. Good if that came up again. Here it goes. Temperamental. No, sorry, it's being very temperamental, my computer. Hi from Europe. Well done, Europe, for being on. You're amazing. I have no idea what time it is for you, but yeah, that's great. Really happy to hear that. Thank you. Okay. So look, what's possible with ASEA? Look, for me, it's how long is a piece of string, but just as a starter, you know, looking better, feeling better, performing better. But we're obviously going to drill right down into that. And before we get started, I just want to have a think about what's important to you. You know, maybe you want to look and feel younger. And look, we have a massive aging population. I'm part of it, the baby boomers. And I've got to in looking and feeling older. Absolutely no joy at all. You might have a health challenge. You know, it could be you, it could be somebody you care about. We all know people who are suffering. So, you know, great to know about the redox, because you can share this with people. It could be you have a preventative approach to health, which means you want to be up with the latest or a breakthrough technology. That would definitely be of interest to you. It certainly was to me. You might want to have increased energy, stamina and endurance, and it may be from an athletic point of view, or it could be just so, you know, when you get home from work at night, you're not heading for the couch exhausted. You know, for those entrepreneurs out there, you know that a breakthrough equals an opportunity. And it could be just love helping others and you want to make a difference. So it could be one or all of those, but just have a think about that as we move through tonight's presentation. So I just want to briefly tell you my journey. So before I was introduced to Redox, I had 10 years with a company who had a state-of-art technology that assisted around health, and I was really passionate about people knowing about it. So, you know, I had a 10-year career with that company. I worked ridiculously hard. I actually managed to override many preservative mechanisms in my body, if you like self-preserve, how do you say it? Don't worry about it. You know, those ignored signs that I was working too hard, let's put it that way. And after 10 years with this company, I mean, I was earning a lot of money, but the ethos of this company just wasn't working for me. They definitely, ego and economics were high on their priority. And I left very suddenly, which means I also left behind a big income and overnight had a zero income. Now, I knew that was going to happen, and I believed in myself, and I just believed that I would deal with that. However, you know, it was going to sort of, whatever it was going to throw me. But what I discovered was my burnout, I wasn't healing from it. And my background, I'm a health consultant. I had all the answers. I knew what nutritionals to take. I knew what herbs to take. I knew what modalities to use. And I was approaching 60 and I wasn't getting any better. And this had been going on for a couple of years. I had trauma to joints that wasn't healing. I had sun damage to my face that needed some attention. My energy was really low. I wasn't sleeping. I was stressed. I felt like I'd lost my purpose. I was a source of worry to my 3 daughters instead of being a source of inspiration. And financially, I was going backwards $1,000 a week. And I got to tell you, that was like being on a fast train heading for a cliff. So in January 2015, somebody I didn't know very well reached out to me and just invited me to check out these healing molecules. And I had a lot of questions for her, and very quickly she linked me up with some incredible people who'd been on the field and, you know, supporting people in the redox for a number of years, and they answered all my questions. So very quickly, I knew that, well, there's only one way to find out what these molecules can do, and that is to order some. So I ordered some and started using them. And within 2 to 6 weeks, I had profound healing in my body. Everything that was a concern healed. And we only had the technology in the form of an external gel then in Australia. And I just followed the instructions, and that was use it twice a day. So within about 6 weeks, I had people asking me, what was I doing? What was I using? I looked different. I felt different. You know, I had a return of energy, like I was getting my mojo back, if you like. And my life literally transformed overnight. I, you know, had a spring in my step, and I was incredibly excited. And I've got to say, I was pretty skeptical about anything being out there that I'd really want to dedicate my life to. So here it was. And, you know, overnight, basically my life transformed, and, you know, it's been a joy and a journey ever since that time. And for me, the privilege and the joy of, you know, using the molecules and assisting others around the molecules is just better than I could ever imagine. So it truly is a journey that can look whatever way you like. Now, the other thing is, you know, 4 months into that journey, I was generating $1,000 a week. I still had another business at that time, so I was only just really doing it very, very part-time and sharing it with, you know, some friends, and that stopped that train heading for the cliff. So, you know, financially, my life started to look very, very different, which, of course, you know, erased a lot of stress. So what will your journey look like? Well, I've got to tell you, your journey can look any way you like. Given that the medical atomic physicist, Dr. Gary Samuelson, who is, part of the reason we have access to these stabilized redox signaling molecules, says that ASEA redox is one of the most significant health, science and athletic breakthroughs of our lifetime. And that's since the discovery of penicillin. Big call, but that's the reality. So yeah, you can create whatever you want with a technology like this. So let's just look at this breakthrough. This technology has the potential to spearhead the greatest advances in health we have ever seen, harnessing the power of our own bodies to keep us well. This is the breakthrough, this harness of this power. So when did the first breakthrough come? Well, and what's interesting for me, I was a health practitioner. I hadn't heard of redox, and there's still a lot of people out there in the science world who haven't heard of redox. But in 1998, the breakthrough came where these three gentlemen identified the role of redox signaling molecules in terms of the power and their role in cellular health. And they actually won a Nobel Prize for this discovery. Then in 2009, we had another breakthrough, and this is where Dr. Gary Samuelson, he's one of 6 medical atomic physicists on the planet, successfully stabilized redox signaling molecules outside of the body. And this was considered scientifically impossible. Why? Because a biotech company had invested millions of dollars in 10 years to actually achieve this, and they failed, and 3 pharmaceutical companies also threw a lot of money at it, and they said it's impossible. So Dr. Gary Samuelson collaborated with Vertus Norton, our founder of ASEA, and after 12 months actually achieved the impossible, and that was to have stabilized redox that could be in a drink or a form that that actually had a shelf life, so that we could supplement and top up these really crucial, critical molecules. So let's just have a look at what these redox signaling molecules are. Our cells are constantly making redox signaling molecules. Every nanosecond of every day, the cells are making them, and they underpin our cellular health. So this was the breakthrough in 98, because science knew about redox signaling molecules, but they thought they were a waste product of the energy production within the cell. It's the breakthrough, that understanding that redox signaling molecules, messenger molecules, underpin the health of our cells. So if our cells are healthy, that means our tissues are healthy. And by the way, we're made up of around 75 trillion cells. And if tissues are healthy, then our organs are healthy. So if you want a healthy heart, you need healthy heart. So redox signaling molecules enhance our body's ability to repair and heal. If our organs are healthy, our systems are healthy. Not just one system, all of our systems in the body are dependent on redox signaling molecules. And if our cells are healthy, we're healthy. So cell signaling is vital for our well-being. So what's the role of these important cell signaling molecules? Well, they protect our cells. Do you know our cells have no ability to communicate with the immune system? It's actually redox that communicates between the cells and our immune system. So there's lots of things that go on around a cell that are actually a threat to the cell. Viruses, bacteria, toxicity, all those kind of things, and even the mechanisms within the cell, and there's plenty of them, they don't have the ability to communicate with each other either. So redox is like, it's like the conductor within the cell. All of that is dependent on redox signaling molecules. Even what comes across the cell membrane, what comes into the cell and out of the cell, is all orchestrated by redox signaling molecules. Basically, about 98% of what happens in the body is dependent on these important messenger molecules. Now, another role they have is they detect damage. That's part of life. The DNA in our cells are getting damaged all the time. And redox detects that damage, and then if possible it initiates repair, and if repair is not possible, then redox initiates cell death. And in the event of a cell dying or cell suicide, then redox instructs a healthy neighboring cell to actually divide and replace that cell. So this, whether we understand it or not, whether we know about it or not, that's what's going on at the cellular level every second, every day. So let's just look at some analogies to, a bit of science simplification. So let's just go back a little bit. If you imagine in your home, you've got a fireplace, you've got a beautiful fire burning, it's creating heat and energy within the home. If a log rolled out of the fire, then you've got a problem in the home. You not only now have a lot of heat and energy being performed, but you've got a lot of damage going on as well. So that being the case, you would want to actually call for help. Now, the phone itself is not really what makes the call. It's the fact that you have a signal that allows you to actually call in help to put the fire. So you would call the fire brigade because they have all the resources to come in and put that fire out and, get some control back into the home again. And yes, that house will be left with quite a bit of damage, but we're going to refer to that a little bit later on. So just think about it, using our phone, it's all dependent on the signal that we can actually be responsible for having help show up and assist in this situation. Another area of protection at the cellular level is redox activates our antioxidants. Now, oxidative stress is our #1 health risk. That's basically like rusting going on inside of our body. And antioxidants target oxidative stress. But what's interesting is we require sufficient redox to actually activate those antioxidants. So think about a light bulb. So I have a light bulb here. It's a perfectly it's a perfect light bulb. However, without electricity, it's not going to be able to do anything. It's not going to be able to shine a light. We need to activate it with electricity. Well, it's exactly the same with antioxidants. So, you might have been like me, you were supplementing with antioxidants, you perhaps pay attention to your diet so that you have an increase of antioxidants. That's all important, but our most important antioxidants are our endogenous antioxidants, like our glutathione, our superoxide dismutase. But at the end of the day, whether we've got a good supply internally or whether we're supplementing with them, without sufficient redox, our antioxidants are basically unemployed. So that means rusting is occurring at a rate that's out of control. It's actually causing a vast amount of breakdown in the body. And, that's going on every day, which is why we do have our antioxidants. But again, redox is critical so that we can actually activate those antioxidants. Now, by consuming redox, we increase our antioxidant effectiveness by 500 to 800%. That was really comforting for me to know that. So, you're probably getting a sense by now the importance of these messenger molecules called redox. So if they're so important and we've got them, why would we need to supplement with them? Well, there's kind of good news and bad news here. When we're born, we supposedly have 100% redox. And then when puberty hits, that starts the decline of redox. And so by the time we're 40, we're down to 50% redox. So let's just look at an analogy here with your phone. Think about 100% redox. That's like everything works. Calls work well. You can watch videos and all that kind of thing. But when we're down to 50%. And as you know, when you're 40, like, you know, things still worked pretty well. We still could go out and have a hard game of tennis. But what we noticed the next day, we actually knew we'd had a hard game of tennis. You know, it took longer for our bodies to recover. So that's kind of like 3 bars on your phone. The signals are weaker. You're starting to get call dropout. Your videos are buffering. You can't watch it without that happening. And that kind of reminds me when I'm on the call to Freeway, going Mount Macedon at the weekend, you know, I get this dropout all the time, and I love to use that time to connect with people and make calls, but the signal gets weaker. So, you know, sometimes it's difficult for me to have those conversations that I want to have. And then by the time we're 80, gosh, that's like 1 bar. We're down to 10% redox. I mean, that's kind of SOS. So, you know, basically you're not going to watch any videos, and you can pretty well give up trying to make any contact with anybody. So another way I like to liken this is, imagine a really successful corporation, and every decade, every 10 years, they basically sack 10% of their staff and they don't replace them. So you can imagine each decade, as time goes on, things are not going to get done, things are going to be overlooked, and things are going to break down. So the efficacy and efficiency of that corporation is going to be diminishing through the decades. So that's basically what's happening in our body. This is a favourite quote of mine of Dr. Dick Walker, who's a trauma surgeon. He's worked in the area of trauma and preventative, and he's also now a preventative medicine specialist. But he was a trauma surgeon for 30 years. He still does it a couple of days a week because he loves it. But he says, may you never know what you are preventing. And what he means by that is, you know, we're cooking things up in our body for decades before we actually manifest outward symptoms. And when we start taking redox, the redox goes to work and reverses things that we don't even know are, you know, partially on the way. The other thing that I love about what Dick says is, he says he's been able to help more people with redox than what he has as a trauma surgeon. So a beautiful Dick and Wendy Walker. So science, redox is a new category of applied science. This is a category creator. So ASEA itself means, it's Latin, and it means from the sea. And what is the sea made out of? Salt and water. So let's have a look at why Virtus Norton chose ASEA, the name of this company. So we're going to look at the patented 3-step process. So what takes nanoseconds in the body takes 3 days in the ASEA plant. Now, in our cells, because basically we're, you know, 75 trillion bags of salt and water, and step 1 in the plant is they start off with pristine salt and water, exactly the same as what's found in your cells. Step 2, that salt and water is broken down into free-floating atoms. It's no longer salt and water. It's sodium, chloride, hydrogen, and oxygen. And then the atoms are reconstructed into stabilized redox signaling molecules. This is a 3-day process to make the drink. So what's interesting for this, and you know, for me as a health practitioner, the word redox is it's native to the body. It's not natural, it's native. So what does that mean? What that means is it's bioidentical to what is made in the cells. Now, there's nothing out there on the planet that's bioidentical. You know, blueberries are natural and they're good for us, but our body doesn't make blueberries. So the thing about redox, the body doesn't have to work out what to do with it. As soon as you consume it or it enters the bloodstream, in the case of the gel, it goes to work straight away. There's no delay. It's a unique technology. ASEA is the first and only company with this technology. It has over 40 patents on that process that we just saw, that 3-day process, and there is no competition. I mean, basically the success of us having access to redox is really a miracle. I mean, Virtus Norton and Dr. Gary Samuelson, who worked on it for a year, they made 2 mistakes, and it's those 2 mistakes that allowed them to succeed. So it's really interesting, where there's a vision and a mission, there's success. So they believe there was divine intervention. I would agree. Now, See is Science, it's a great place to go and visit if you want to see and read the documents on the See is Science, because they've done with redox signaling molecules. So go to a See is Science to check that out. Dr. Robertson Ward is a medical doctor in the United States, and he's been working with his patients for 10 years using redox signaling molecules. And he's so committed and excited about this technology that he's dedicated a website for us to learn from. So whether you have a medical or a science background, or whether you're a lay person, head over to the redoxdoc.com. It's a really interesting website to learn more about redox. So redox and your genes. Well, your genes contain the blueprint of instructions for health throughout your entire body. And Dr. Robertson Ward also has written a book called Healthy Cells, Healthy Life. And, if you're interested in one of those, you'll be able to obtain one from the person who invited you tonight. But on page 16, he talks about the role of redox and our genes. Now, interesting thing about genes are not your destiny, but what is your destiny is your lifestyle, because lifestyle factors like daily stress, environmental toxins, electromagnetic stress, insufficient sleep, insufficient exercise are all disrupting our genes with catastrophic results. So what does that mean? It means that good genes are turning off and bad genes are turning on. So the good thing about that is you're responsible for these. You can actually start addressing some of these daily life stresses and start to turn your genetic expression around, which is called epigenetics. The redox biochemistry positively affects the function of key body systems. So if you or anybody you know has a challenge with cardiovascular health, or immune system disorders, or any inflammatory conditions, all those conditions out there that end in itis, poor digestion and poor hormone modulation, then sufficient redox will activate the good genes and restore health across these systems. This is really interesting, this trial. I was very interested in this, the oxidative stress trial results. So Dr. David Neiman of the Appalachian State University, he conducted this study, and there were 103 participants. They were women aged between 20 and 73. They were all obese. And he had them on 120 mils of ASEA a day for this 12-week period. Now, it was a double-blind placebo study, so some were on the redox and some weren't. But what was interesting, 100% of those that were on the redox had significantly reduced markers of heart disease. Those 2 markers were oxidized LDL and oxidized DNA. And they also had a total of lowered cholesterol. Now, for me, that's incredibly amazing, because they're only on the standard dose. And, if people are obese, they're probably going to have other complications going on in the body. So, a 12-week trial, that really blew me away. So let's just have a look at the redox products. So we've got cellular health from the outside in. Now that's quite odd. Outside in. So let's explore that. So we have a product called Renew 28. And we also have the Renew Advanced system, which is a skincare system, but part of that system is also a concentrated redox serum. So let's just explore those a bit. So Renew 28, it works from the outside in. Now, just going back to when I started using redox, this was the product that was available in Australia. So interesting that my energy levels went up, joint trauma healed, sun damage healed, veins in the backs of my legs disappeared. I had a glow about me. I had a spring in my step. That was all redox from the outside in. It's a whole body redox gel. In other words, you use it from head to toe. I apply it everywhere. And the more I use it, the more flexible I am. So I even get it into more places. It's anti-aging and skin repair. But just keep in mind, you know, the anti-aging means anti-aging on the inside as well. So having a redox experience is always something I recommend. And if you are with somebody now, either right now or at the end of this presentation, you want to have a redox experience. So a great way to do that is to identify an area in your body that perhaps you have discomfort in. You might have some irritation. You might have lack of joint joint movement. There's a lot of people, have lack of movement in the neck. There's usually something. And I recommend that you have 3 applications of Renew 28 and just 3 applications over 5 minutes. You don't even have to rub it in. Just apply about a blueberry size, spread a minute later, another of them, and then another, and just let it soak in. It'll soak in. It'll probably take, a few minutes. And and also before you actually apply it, just give it a rating out of 10, 10 being like, maximum discomfort. So, you might rate something as a 7 or an 8, whatever. And then we're going to check in again with you and get another rating. And I just want to say I've got a really old knee injury from 2 accidents. So, of course, when I started using Renew 28, I applied it around, so I was running a cooking school at the time, so I was working long hours in the kitchen, quite rigorous on the body, teaching cooking. And I was able to get a level of comfort in my knee, and knees are a bad design. It's really not a joint that does very well with repair. But meant I could run downstairs and I didn't feel vulnerable in the knee. So I was pretty happy with that. But, it's 5 years on and I'm like, this knee, it's still, on a level of healing. I'd rated it, about a 5, and I'd like to get it down to a 1. Anyway, 3 weeks ago, I thought, why aren't I doing a 3 and 5 with my knee? I tell everybody else to do that. I started doing 3 and 5 application, and that meant morning and night. I just applied it 3 times in the morning, 3 at night. Within 48 hours, I have a different knee. I'm just blown away. This is only 2 or 3 weeks ago, I'm still continuing that 3 and 5 application because I really get a sense now that I can get 100% repair. So do not underestimate the 3 and 5 application out there for those of you who are using Renew 28. So let's look at some independent clinical studies. Most of these were done over 4 weeks. So Dermatest, which is a well-known dermatological company in Europe, they were asked to test the Renew 28 on skin cells on the face. And I've just got a couple of the outcomes here of that 4-week result. So the people involved in that testing applied it twice a day. And there was a 20% increase in elasticity over the 28 days. That's, and obviously as we age, things start to go south because we're lacking in elasticity, but also in our body, there are disease states where things are lacking in elasticity as well. So to have an increase of 20% is amazing. There's also a 23% increase in smoothness of the skin and an 11% increase in skin moisture, and not because Renew 28 is a moisturizer, but because cells were functioning like they did when they're younger. So the cell itself is producing the moisture. And there was a 23% reduction in the depth of wrinkles. That is massive. So wrinkles are just damaged skin cells. So again, we can see that on the outside. To actually see that damage reverse, you know, it's really important that we get to see some visual things about the redox workings. I highly recommend that, you know, you put some on your wrinkles, put some on scar tissue. Now, Dermatest awarded the 5-star coveted award, and what that means is it got 5 stars for efficacy, but also for safety, because that's really important. Now, Stevens and Associate, they're a dermatological company based in the US. They did a 4-day blood flow study. Now, as we age, our blood flow deteriorates as well, diminishes. So what that means is you've got less nutrients getting to the area, you've got less oxygen, and you've got less detoxification of an area. So that certainly doesn't help our cause for staying healthy and well. So over a 4-day period, there was a 50% increase in skin blood flow. But what's interesting about that, after the first application of Renew 28, there was a 49% in skin blood flow. That's huge, which is why you'll start to see a shift, a measurable shift in how things are feeling and how things are performing in the body with the Renew 28. Now, this other one I really love, because skin cell turnover, if we can increase the percentage of skin cell turnover, that is truly equals anti-aging. So these participants applied Renew 28 to their arm. They actually applied it twice, morning and night. And let's say when we're 20, our skin cells turn over at 28 days, which is why our skin looks fabulous. But of course, as we get older, that skin cell cycle gets longer and longer, which is why the visible signs of aging show up. So if you can shorten that skin cell turnover by 16%, and that was just in 28 days, things are going to look younger. Because they are younger, the cells are performing like they did when we were younger. That truly is the essence of anti-aging. So this is what's called our Renew Advanced. This is where we have, for a skincare, you have the repair part of the skincare. So if you're investing in skincare, I would highly recommend that if you really want skin cells to be repaired, you have to have a redox-based skin repair system. So we've got the Renew 28, and then we have the more concentrated serum. It's more concentrated in redox, and that is for those, you know, spot areas that you want to turn back the clock, you know, under eyes, around the mouth. People even use it on things that are growing on the skin that, you know, never used to be there. So I love the serum. But of course, to prepare the skin for repair, a good cleanser, and it's not hard to make a cleanser, but it's hard to actually make a really good cleanser that doesn't do any damage to the skin. And then to follow up with a ultra hydrating moisturizer. So there are some state-of-the-art ingredients in both the cleanser and also the moisturizer. So, you know, my background, I started in the beauty industry and then went into the health industry. So I know a lot about what's out there and what we're putting on our skin. And in fact, you know, the best we can hope for out there with most skincare is that it does no harm. Well, here you have a skincare that actually does turn back the clock and repair our skin cells. And then we've got cellular health from the inside out. So that is with our ASEA beverage. And then we have 4 incredible nutritional supplements now. These have been a much later addition to the range, but given that ASEA is a cellular health company, that is also critical for cellular health. So the ASEA beverage, that was the flagship product. That was the first product to market that was launched in the US in 2010. And then our cutting-edge nutritionals that have basically come into the range over the last 2 years. So we have 2 whole food nutritional supplements, a digestive health supplement, and an anti-aging and vitality supplement. So via Source, it's a whole food micronutrient supplement. It works synergistically with the Redox. It's based on organic food that's actually grown on a nutrient-dense medium, so that increases the nutritional profile. And it's also fermented, which again increases the nutritional profile even further. And it includes 26 nutritionally dense superfoods, and it's designed for maximum bioavailability. So what does that mean? Well, most supplements in Australia, could even be all of them. I'm not up to date with all that now, but what I know is most of them are synthetic. So do you think the body knows what to do with those ingredients? It doesn't. That really compromises the uptake and utilization of those nutritionals. So you possibly have expensive urine rather than a fabulous nutritional profile that's being utilized by the body. So as soon as I looked at this formulation, I was out with the ones I was using and in with this, because even though the ones I was using were quite good, I had no evidence that the uptake was high, and they certainly were synthetic. So yeah, I would only invest my dollars now in something that's as state-of-the-art as this formulation. The next one here is our balanced profile of omega-3 fatty acids, which has the correct balance of EPA and DHA. And this is essential fatty acids. It's essential because we can't make them. We are dependent on getting these from our diet. And, quality of omega-3s out there is a challenge to find good ones that the oil isn't already rancid. It, again, is designed for high absorption. If you want to be investing in a supplement, you want to know that it includes the technology that your body, that the uptake is really high. And it supports cardiovascular and brain health, but, also joint health, and all our cell membranes are made out of fatty acids. So you want to have plenty of good quality fatty acids available. This is one, look, they're all favorite for me, but I love this because it's a full spectrum probiotic. It has 16 different strains. Most formulations out there, or I'm going to say all of them actually, have 3 to 4. But, the reality is we have way more than 3 to 4 strains in our gut. And, health begins in the gut. This is a theme that most of you are probably aware of. It also includes a prebiotic, so that's food for the probiotics. And it provides an optimal environment in the gut for maximum efficiency and probiotic colonization. So what does that mean? So for those of you who are gardeners, if you go and buy some seedlings, we know that the best chance for those seedlings to be healthy and grow is that we use some fertilizer, and we also use some topsoil. So that's basically what the different strains of the probiotics have. It's like they arrive in your gut with a packed lunch, and then they've got the fabulous other ingredients that assist them to colonize the gut wall, because if they don't adhere to the gut wall, colonization is not going to happen, and that means you're not going to get the best of these strains. Life Max is a vitality formula. It promotes longevity, and it addresses cellular aging from the inside out. The formulation addresses those key areas in the Western world where there's a lot of breakdown, and it is specific, I would say, cardiovascular disease, the immune system, and also cognitive function. So, these are areas that most people are suffering with in the Western world. So it's a great formulation for anti-aging. Now, to find out more about these, head over to asiavia.com, and you'll be able to find fact sheets there and read up a bit more on this terrific range. So there we have it. ASEA is a cellular health company. That's cellular health from the inside out and the outside in. And that outside in, to me, is like incredibly unique. I don't know anything out there that you can apply to the skin and be impacting what's going on the inside. And, early days in Australia, because this is all we had, we basically got very creative with using Renew 28 because the rest of the world had the drink, so they were just putting it on their face thinking it was for wrinkles. But we had, you know, we were putting it all over our body, and people were having outstanding healing and health changes of things that were going on the inside. Blood sugar levels were balancing out. You know, there were people who were kind of using it on a neck and a sore knee, but they were having dramatic digestive healing, if you like. So yeah, so outside in is really important. That's what I never leave home with. I always have a tube of Renew 28 in my bag, because also as a first aid for, you know, bites and cuts and burns, and you might have a bit of discomfort going on in your head, you just apply Renew 28 and bang, you know, things are feeling good again. So nutrition provides the raw materials. Redox cell signaling molecules utilize the raw materials. They utilize the nutritional building blocks. So for me, at turning 60, I was on a good nutritional program. You know, my 3 meals a day were nutrient dense. I only buy organic food. But what I didn't know was insufficient redox, my body couldn't utilize these good raw materials. So that was a bit like, you know, there was the fire in the house that created all the damage. And I had the good rebuild materials there, but I had like an old man just with a hammer trying to do the rebuild, and that just is insufficient labor. So once I got the labor in, then things repaired fast and really quickly. So again, like building a house, the quality of raw materials are vitally important to the outcome. You know, your body will rebuild with poor quality materials. The redox will use whatever it can use. But the thing is, you know, we know that if we rebuild a home with poor quality materials, it's not going to have the longevity. Here it is. The redox provides the labor. So redox cell signaling molecules provide that labor that, you know, protect the cells, detect the damage, and then repair the cell or replace it. So like if your house is the damage is extensive, then the whole house needs replacing. So you need a foreman and a team in there. They've got the DNA, which is like the plan, so they know exactly how to do the rebuild again, and they've got the raw materials. So we've got complete cellular health with ASEA, we've got our raw materials, and we've got our labour, and here we see ASEA at work. I love that picture. Oops. Now, if you were having a redox experience, now's the time to revisit your 3 and 5 redox experience. So you want to rate your current level of discomfort. And we know that 9 out of 10 people experience a significant measurable result. So what's the difference? And, you know, you want to check in with that. Now, if you're the 1 in 10, all that means is you just need more redox because there's significant damage going on. So do another 3 and 5. I invite you. So it's really good to set correct expectations. So this is relative to the ASEA beverage. So what we know is that in 1 week of using the ASEA beverage, 10% of people experience a significant measurable result. So what that means is 90% of people experience nothing. And after a month, 50% of people have experienced a result. So I say to people, look, after a month, if you're not noticing anything, you just need more. You know, increase your dose, double it up, or add in another 60 mils every day, and then every 4 days, add in another 60 mils until you get the shift. Because otherwise it's like sending a boy on a man's mission. And again, you know, the body prioritizes where the redox is used. So it's going to go, the highest priority are going to be the things that are the most threat to your health and well-being. And they could be things you're not even aware of. But what we do know also is after 3 months, 95% of people have experienced a specific measurable result. So if you want to start to introduce redox into your health and well-being regime, have a commitment of using the Redox for 3 months as a minimum. So let's look at some results. Well, gosh, we could be here for hours, but we're not going to be. So this is one of my favorites, Rosie from the US. So at 84, her son had a significant car accident 10 years before he was introduced to Redox, and he was a mess. And it made such a profound shift in how he looked and what his health and well-being was like, that Rosie was curious to try it herself. And we always recommend you take a before photo of anything, that's visual. So here's Rosie, 84, and 7 weeks later, she says to her son, don't really notice any difference. She was drinking 60 mils of ASEA twice a day, and she was using the Renew 28 twice a day on her face. So he said, send me a photo, Mum, and he puts them side by side and sends them back to her. She couldn't see the difference. So, yeah, she's not the only one. But anyway, I don't know about you, but she looks like a different woman. She was shocked, actually, that she did look like that 7 weeks before. And, this is her at 87. And every time I see Rosie when I go to the United States, she just looks younger and younger. And a year ago, she packed up her house and moved to over on the west coast, Florida, and she's having a ball, absolutely having a ball at 87. This is often a condition that young adults are dealing with, had lots of experience with that, and you can see there this was in a fairly short space of time. I mean, this is profound for young people. It impacts their confidence and their self-worth and well-being. So look at that smile on his face. And then this is Dan Doyle. Now, Dan Doyle had a serious condition where after 2 years of a lot of treatment with Western medicine, they told him to go home and get his affairs in order. And thank goodness he was introduced to redox signaling molecules. It completely turned his health around, and he's a fabulous ambassador for ASEA and for this healing technology. This is him 12 months later. He travels the world sharing his experience and assisting others in their health journey as well, and also their journey around their financial well-being. So Dan tells his story on Expert in the House, and all of these are recorded. So I really encourage you to find one of those presentations that Dan Doyle has done and just listen to his story. It's an incredible story. Renew 28, there was also a study done with Dermatest on cellulite. Now, my background in the beauty industry, I can tell you that shifting cellulite is not easy. And we had some very costly and convoluted treatments, and I say convoluted because there was many aspects to it. It was time consuming, and what these women did was just apply Renew 28 twice a day, morning and night, a raspberry size, to spread it over the area, and this was the results after 12 weeks. And look, basically cellulite is a toxicity issue, and the toxins are stored in fluid in the cell and around the cell. That's actually part of keeping us safe from the toxins, but it does cause unsightly dimpling in the skin, and also it's not that great for us to be just hanging on to those toxins, but basically it's very difficult to liberate them. So what happened when they applied the Renew 28, it liberated the toxins, cleaned it out, and even the fat cells shrunk. Yes, so that's super easy. You just do it at home. So with summer coming up, if you want to shift your cellulite, I'd invest in 12 weeks of using Renew 28. So I've just got a picture here. The Tomography, some of you might be familiar with it. It basically is a thermal imaging of heat in the body, and a lot of heat in the body is a bad thing. And you can see here a hand has a lot of heat. That hand, there'd be a lot of discomfort that person would be experiencing. And this is the hand after those 3 applications of Renew 28 in 5 minutes. So there's been a significant shift there in terms of thermal imaging, but also the experience for that person would be a significant shift in how things were feeling. So you can do a bit of an experiment yourself if you like. You can get some 3 flowers and have one in a sea, one in slightly salty water and one in tap water, and just watch the progress of those flowers over 5 days. So I've done that experiment, and it's very interesting. So just want to state a disclaimer here, and that is ASEA and Renew 28 are not intended to diagnose, prevent, treat or cure any disease. It's just that ASEA empowers the body to heal itself by increasing cellular efficiency, cellular function and cellular communication. So what about athletes? You know, it could be you're a weekend warrior, it could be you're a professional athlete. Well, what are the benefits for athletes? Improvements in endurance, strength, recovery and mental stamina. So what does that mean? Well, it means they can go out and train harder and recover so effectively that they can actually go out the next day and train harder. They have no lactic acid, and they have no risk of injury when they're using the molecule. So that is significant for an athlete. So if you're someone who likes to work hard at the gym and you do the weights, you can do your own experiment. You know, apply Renew 28 to those muscles, the muscle groups that you're going to be using the weights with. Take some ASEA and you will notice a big difference. I mean, I notice a difference just when I go up the farm on the weekend and I want to lift heavy things and I want to move things. You know, my strength is so much so that my daughters are shocked with some of the things that I do. So they know my ASEA is working. Cody Miller, he's an Olympic gold medal swimmer. He's been using ASEA for a number of years now and has won gold at the Olympics. Kathy Waite, now Kathy's in her 40s. She's an ex-Dera triathlete. Now, what does that mean? It means she does crazy stuff along, you know, rugged terrain. She runs on rugged terrain. She bikes on rugged terrain and does some crazy swimming component. And, you know, she's a force to be reckoned with in her 40s. She's still out there beating the young ones. Michelle Salt is a Paralympic snowboarder. Eddie Hall took out the strongest man in the world using the Redox. He actually took the title off a Russian who, I mean, I thought Eddie was big, but when I see him against this Russian, the Russian is twice his height and width. But you know, redox signaling molecules was what got Eddie over the line to take that title off the Russian. So, you know, if you know professional athletes, there's no prohibited substances. They can safely take the redox signaling molecules and not jeopardize themselves in terms of drug testing. Too good to be true? I don't know. Let's meet the elephant in the room. So what's coming up for you? So the science are there. We've got the technology in the products. The results are there. There are so many testimonials around. Talk to the person who invited you tonight. They can connect you in with some Facebook groups where people share their stories of, you know, what they were using, what messages they took and what conditions they had. And there's just anything that involves a cell responds to redox, and you know, that's animals and plants as well. So there's incredible stories with animals. But look, what I invite you to do is use the redox yourself. You know, commit to using it for 3 months. That's, you know, when I looked at it, I thought, oh my God, this sounds amazing. You know, the proof is going to be in me using it. So I invite you to check it out for yourself in your own body. So ASEA is built on a foundation of integrity. And this was really important to me, given I've been involved with 2 other companies before that had state-of-the-art technology that I was really committed to. But both of these companies lacked integrity, and the East was just all wrong for me. So I flew to the United States 3 days to meet the founders, to meet Vertus and Tyler and Dr. Gary Samuelson, and also the executive team, because it was really important to me that it ticked all the boxes for me. I didn't want to get involved in another product, no matter how good it was, if the integrity was out with the company. And I've got to say that not only did it tick all the boxes, it ticked more. I've never met people that have a heart and a soul. This company has a heart and a soul. And, you know, we have access to this technology because of this man, Vertus Norton. And he's one son who's partnered him in the ASEA business. And we have some of the incredible teachings from Tyler, the Ethos Academy, that the person who invited you tonight can even share that with you. It's an incredible ethos that this company has. So I feel really safe and secure. I know that this ship that's going awesome has the best people at the helm steering it from a business point of view and from an ethos point of view. I'd invite you to check out the ASEA Genesis, and this is where Vertus, it's a 16-minute video. Vertus is just telling the story of the ASEA Genesis, and you might want to have a tissue with you. I cry every time I watch it, just listening to Vertus tell the story. So ASEA do have a mission, and that is to better people's lives, be a force for good in the world. And we're currently in 33 countries, changing lives around the world. And as ASEA grows, of course, we're expanding into more countries all the time. So, you know, often when we experience the healing of the technology, we have people in other countries that we want them to have access to it. So at the moment, there are 33 countries where people are accessing the product every day. So how can you be part of ASEA? Well, you can be a consumer. It's called a preferred customer. You can live younger, longer. You can experience better health, and you have access to retail or wholesale pricing. I'd only recommend wholesale myself. You can also be what's called an associate, and that is you have access to wholesale pricing exactly the same as a preferred customer. But when we experience something we really love, most of us share it with others, whether it's a good restaurant, a movie we've loved. For me, like if I've just got a good electrician, I let everybody know about it. So if you love sharing things that you love as well, then I would suggest you become an associate where you have access to the product at the best price, but you can also help others with their health and well-being if you wish to. So it could be you might be just sharing it with friends and family. That's what I thought. I thought, well, I'll set up an associate account, because if this stuff is what they say it is, I know I'll be sharing it with some people in my life. And, that allows you to also cover the cost of your products. It could be you want to build a residual income. I mean, work your own hours from home. It might be that, you want just a couple of $1,000 a month. It could be you want $10,000 a month. Basically, the sky's the limit. You can build a national and a global team and create financial freedom if that's something you want to do. And, become an entrepreneur. And if you're saying to yourself, but I don't even know how to be an entrepreneur, don't worry, nor did I. I mean, the thing is, you learn as you earn. So, there's always somebody ahead of us that's done it before us and mentor us. So, it's the best business model, because it doesn't matter how old you are, male or female, what level of education you have, what your past vocations have. It doesn't matter. You all have access to creating, could be a legacy income for yourself and your family. So again, you know, talk to us. The person who invited you can connect you with leaders who have paved the way in this, and you can ask them all the questions you want about it. That's what I did. 2 hours. I had some of the top leaders in the United States on a Zoom webinar. They answered all my questions, and I got such a sense of, you know, who a seer is just by the people that connected with me that day. So don't underestimate who's out there that you could talk to and get all your questions answered. So, you know, you've joined us tonight because somebody invited you, and I appreciate and thank that person so much, because, and I also thank you because you've trusted that person and you've trusted us. So thank you very much. And behind all that, of course, I want to thank Vertus Norton, because we're all here tonight on this webinar because of this incredible man. And this was his final statement in 2015 at the convention. He retired at that convention, and he said, his parting words were, "We are all at the start of something big with great purpose, and right now is the moment that we begin influencing the future, and we can change the world. And it starts with one person at a time." So I really invite you to check out the redox signaling molecules, get your questions answered, try them. That's what I did, and it's changed my life, and it's changed my life on so many levels. Now, I just want to see if we've got any questions before we finish tonight. I'm actually going to stop the recording.